Welcome back to the Ohio MMA Podcast. I'm David McKinney, joined today by Jayde Sheeley.
Hi.
Jade, hey, what's up?
Hey, not much. Just getting my coffee, getting started for the day, and ready to go.
Yeah, you got the fighter life right before,
Yeah.
right
And then a
before.
full-time job on top of it. So it's like go, go, go.
Yeah, so Jade, you make your second LFA appearance, your second pro fight at LFA 160 on June 16th in Owensboro, Kentucky, taking on Diamond Long, and we'll get into that because when that popped up, that surprised me a little bit. But
Yeah, me
first off,
too.
first off, this is your second fight for LFA, and I actually listened to some interviews for before your first fight, and I feel like you were coming off of a long layoff and you didn't really know what to expect, kind of going to fight for LFA. You feel like it's a little bit more like a different feeling going into your second fight, or how are you feeling heading into this one?
100%. Over even right before my fight, I've been working a lot on my mindset. I didn't have like a routine before my fights, like most people that fight. We fight because we like fighting. Like you don't really have to think about it. You just go in. For a long time as an amateur, I could just like brawl. I didn't really need a lot of technique. I could just beat girls up. I was tough. I didn't have to think about it a lot. And I knew the girl I was fighting for LFA was going to be tough, but it was like you said, you listened to some of my interviews. It was like dropout after dropout. Like I couldn't be picky at that point. Um, so I remember getting on the plane. I went with my dad, my coach, and I was like about to cry. Like not even like fear, just like oh my god. Like I've been trying to get a fight for 4 years. Like it's all here. Um, and we talked about it after in that fight. I completely blacked out of like not even knowing what I did. Like it was just so much fear of, oh, if I do this, if I make a mistake, and now I'm going in fighting. Like I'm just going to fight. I'm going to do what I do, my technique that I know I can do, and not afraid to make a mistake or let people down, or people watching at home, the typical fears that every fighter has. So definitely going in with a way clearer mindset this time.
Yeah, and so you're facing Diamond Long. Diamond is 0-2. She's actually fought for LFA before as well. And the name Diamond Long, you guys have both been in the
Yeah.
Ohio MMA scene for about the same time. I think you both
Yeah,
kind of started around the same
came up
time.
around the same time.
I think you guys have fought a couple of the same opponents,
Yep.
and you've never crossed paths before because I think, have you
No.
guys trained together before
No,
or?
it's really funny. We've actually been joking for like the last year. Everyone's like, "Oh, you should fight Diamond on LFA," because we were like, "We're not fighting. Like, why? You know what? We could have fought forever." But in our amateur, it's just funny how it came up. In our amateur runs, we were always at different weight classes. I never cut weight, so I was always at 25, like walking 130, maybe not like that's like eating 7 pizzas like at 1:30, and even my last one. So we made some mistakes. But we just never crossed paths. And actually, after I think it was right before her LFA debut, we had messaged last summer like, "Hey, let's start training. Like, it's nice to have another local girl around where I don't have to travel like 2 hours." But we have some guys from like obviously Ohio. We all cross trained together,
Yeah.
so it was just funny. We just kept joking, and I knew she had like a serious hand injury, like a burn. Like not too long ago. I haven't talked to her since we signed. But I was like, there's no way, like it's gonna be Diamond. Like she was just injured, and I think she's doing boxing, and they signed it. And I was like, at first it's kind of weird because we've are like friendly, not close friends. But
Yeah.
my dad's like, it's business, and it's a good move for LFA because we're both local. They know. I mean, when I did Oklahoma, it was like so many people were from out of state. The crowd was big, but the Kentucky card's gonna be crazy because
Yeah.
so many people are local.
That's the interesting thing. So it's in Owensboro, which is a little south in Kentucky, but there's
Hmm.
9 fighters with Ohio ties on the card, which is
Yeah,
is crazy. And more Ohio fighters than Kentucky fighters on the
yeah.
card. How do you feel? Going, you've got Dylan Budka, you've got some bigger names, Josiah Harrell, Josh
Hmm.
Pereira, who is another up and comer. A lot of fighters that have like that are I've been following the sport for a long time, and it's like most of the fighters in Ohio that are like on the cusp of maybe making it to a big show are
Mhm.
on this fight card all at the
Yeah.
same time, and it's kind of wild that it's actually in Kentucky. So how do you feel like
Yeah.
going down to Kentucky with
Uh,
with a big crew of Ohio fighters?
I'm so happy. I was it almost for a minute it looked like I wasn't gonna get on the card. We had talked that loss was it's like you lose and you learn kind of thing. Like, but you don't always want to like learn that way. But we talked to them after, and they're like, no, like you're a dog, you're a fighter. That Nira was a tough opponent, and she knocked the shit out of me a few times and kept getting back up. So when they were looking for Kentucky, I was like, this is I really want a local fight. I can drive to this one. And they had a couple people back out, and randomly they got me on, and I was just so excited because I train with a lot of the guys that are on the card too. I know Josiah. I don't spar with him regularly, but Pereira, I see him all the time at Matt's. I cross train at Matt's. I do my jiu-jitsu at Ronin. So really, Ohio in general, I feel like we're just a big mosh podge of people cross training. Like, I love that. So, because you need new looks if you're in the same place at the same time. Your teammates start to realize your game. So it's hard to get a real look, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be so much fun to have people
Yeah.
there that I train with.
And you briefly talked about, dropping down. Well, you are dropping down to strawweight for this fight, and I
Mhm.
believe it's your first fight since your amateur fight that you fought at 115, right? Is that right?
Yeah, since I was like 19. And I
Um,
don't even remember that weight cut because I mean I'm 29. Like that was like me not having muscle at OU drinking. Like I'm just gonna go take a fight. Like it was just we were dogs back then. Like it was. I remember being sick when I train with Chelsea Connor now. Like that she's back. And for her fight, I remember being so sick and warming up. My dad's like, "You can't breathe out of your nose. Like what?" We can call. I'm like, dude, I already cut, like, and I have a pizza waiting. Like, let's just fucking go. And now it's like, all right, taking it a little more serious. I don't want to just go be tough. I'm trying to be
yeah.
methodical about everything.
Yeah, you also mentioned your dad, and that's your main coach, and your
Hmm.
dad Scott Sheeley, and he's been around for for decades,
Yeah.
in the sport and fighting, and you're doing kickboxing all over the world, and of course you come up and you grow up in that, and one of the things that I heard kind of the storyline when you first started fighting was that he really didn't want you to fight. Is that true? And like, how's
A
he feel now after?
100%. 100%. We're on a really good page now. I think for a while we really just butt heads on it. He didn't want me to fight. I mean, if he could have had it my way, I would have been a doctor. And just like he just tells me how he took the hard path of like hard work, like most fighters, especially the generation right before me and two back, where they're just doing construction and fucking grinding, and it's like it's mental, and then we all know that. I don't have to tell anybody that. Like MMA, this whole sport is very, very mental. You're obviously questioning yourself all the time, and the injuries. Like you get an injury, and then you're like, I know so many teammates like an ACL, and they're out for fucking 2 years, and it's like it's a very mental sport. So I think 2020, 2021, I was on vacation actually, and I called him because I was just like, I want to fight. Like, what's up? Like, are you not getting me a fight on purpose? Like, I don't care if you think I suck. Like, I want to go fight. If I suck, then let me get in there and like suck. And then I can prove it to myself. Like, we don't got time. Like, I'm 29. And, I want to be fighting until I'm 40 something. So he finally is on the same page. And now he's training me. But yeah, my amateur fights, he didn't tell me how to cut weight, what to do. Like, he wasn't even in my corner. I just had random dudes from the gym that I trained with, and
Yeah.
they'd be like, go. So we're definitely in a good, we're on the same page now, which I'm very glad. Took a while.
That's good to hear. Yeah, I know. Scott's been around for a long time. One of the most respected people, in the sport. And yeah, it's interesting that he kind of knew he is the dad protecting you, but sometimes it's hard. It's in your blood, right? Just like
Well, and
just like
you know
his.
how it is. You tell someone not to do something, they're like, "Fuck, I'm gonna go do it now." Like,
Yeah,
reverse psychology, like, but I'm like, okay, you don't want me to fight? I'll go do it on my own. And I
Yeah.
did for a real long time. But now I got a lot more tools in my game that he's on the same page.
Yeah. And so I was looking at back at your record, and it's hard to believe, but you've almost been fighting for a decade, which makes me
Yeah.
feel old. I'm not that much older than you, but it makes me feel
Yeah,
old because I was
dude.
at your debut, and I was like, oh man, Jade's fighting, and I know that it's you've had some some kind of detours and things like that. You went to
Mhm.
school, and now you're a police officer. What's it feel like a decade into your career? Like, what do you think that you know now that you didn't know when you were 19 and you first started?
I don't I, I don't know. It doesn't feel it feels like two separate careers, honestly. Um the cage rust was like a real thing at my last fight. I remember getting in there being like, I was never scared to fight, never afraid. Like, I'm going in here and I know, like, even my hardest before my last fight was Chelsea. I remember her hitting me and being like, this sucks. Like, I don't like it. But I wasn't like, oh, I'm never going to do that again. But I was like, I don't like getting punched like that. Like, fuck that. And I was terrified, like just so afraid I was going to make a mistake. I put too much pressure on myself for this last fight. So now that I've got that cage rest off, I feel like I'm trying to tap into how I used to fight, and I train with heavyweights. I'm getting hit hard. I'm a little smarter than I did when I first started. When I'm fucking training with Justin Edwards and get knocked out every practice, but I'm doing smarter now and I'm having fun. Like gratitude's a big thing for me. Like I am so grateful that I have these opportunities and I have people that support me. And if they don't support me, they see how much I believe myself. So they're going to either get out or get on the bandwagon, like one of the two. And I'm just having fun. Like that's my biggest thing now, doing it for almost a decade, is just like, I love doing it. The outcome, I win, that's amazing, but I get to do this. I'm able, my body's able. It's just, I love it.
And what's life like outside the cage now? I know that you have a very demanding job in
Yes.
addition to training. You also have a very demanding a dog that is sitting on
Yeah.
your lap.
He's literally
He's right
staring at
there,
me. I got
Quavo.
him
Yeah.
from work, actually. I was on a warrant and he was abused. So he ended up coming home with me. So I brought my work home with me. I never wanted a freaking dog because I travel all the time. And he's just staring into my soul as I say
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I love not being in an office with my job. I don't think I could just be sitting, like cutting weight and just like sitting or working at fucking Honda or like at a desk or something. But it's also stressful too. And me and my nutritionist have had some long talks, but it was really hard for me. That's why I never went back down to 15, because I walk realistically anywhere from 130 to 136, eating whatever I want. Like, I'm only 5'2". Like I could eat donuts, pizza, candy bars. If I get an OVI and I'm just like, not me personally, but at work, and I'm just like doing the paperwork pissed off, I could eat like 4 candy bars back to back, like
Wow.
Snickers, like, and it's not feel sick. It disgusts people how much I can't eat. I'll eat my food, your food, everybody's. So that's the hardest thing. And my coworkers and my dispatchers know now, like, Jade can't eat. So, but it's always around. That's my hardest thing right now is food. I love to eat. I've never been to let me starve myself kind of girly to make weight. I'm like, oh, let me not eat the whole fucking cake. So that's been the hardest thing. And then just dumbasses that I deal with a lot. I see a lot of those. I get to go into work at 3 today. I work 3 to 11, the night shift, when all the crazy stuff happens. But circling back, like the gratitude, that I see a lot of things. I'm like, I could have went down like I could have been any of these people that I deal with. I could have, like, people joke that know me from like Logan County. They're like, you're a cop with your family? Interesting. Like, I'm like that. So any of the people I interact with, that could have been me. And I tell them a lot, like all the time. I'm like, this doesn't have to be your future. You could literally get the hell out of Ohio, go live at the beach. So it's a lot of motivating other people to make better changes. So I just try to, not dwell too much on the crazy calls that I get.
Yeah. And last question. So there's a bunch of fighters other than yourself from Ohio on the card. Is there a fight other than your own that you're looking forward to?
Mm. Other than my own, obviously Chelsea's because Aline Pereira's sister. I want to see that. I think it's a weird matchup that she chose, like agreed to fight Chelsea too, because Chelsea's a wrestler and Aline is like a super tall kickboxer. So
Yeah.
very interested to see that one. I think Chelsea's gonna smash her. And then Dylan's fight, I will butcher that dude's name. Asma, the Russian
As a
guy.
Matt
Yeah, he
Bigfoot.
fought on my card.
Yeah.
I think he was the main event, and that was he's a tough dude. And I've never watched Dylan fight, but I know Dylan stuff, so I think that's gonna be a really good fight. And obviously the rest of the Ohio guys I'm excited about. But other than
Yeah.
that, I've been trying not to like think about everyone else's. I'm like, all right, I gotta go think about my fight and get my mind ready to go. But I'm just excited.
Yeah, Dylan is he just runs through people too, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing to see how fast. I mean, you've been around for a decade. He started fighting
Yep.
like 3 years ago and has
Yeah.
already had 6 pro fights. This is his seventh pro fight. His pace has just been
Go
crazy.
go
But
go.
yeah, it's
Sometimes
exciting.
you
I'm
got to do it like that though. Like
Yeah,
you only have like a certain window. Like I tell people all the time, why do I do this? I'm like, I'm young. I think I'm gonna be young until at least like 45. So, I don't want to be 80 and be like, fuck, I should have gave that my all and tried to go somewhere with this. And I don't want to have any regrets. So I love when people are like, I'll go pro right away. And like, if I can hang, I can hang. If not, fuck it.
yeah, he definitely can hang too. He's fighting for the title, and I think this is his third LFA fight. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you so much for joining me. Anybody you want to give a shout out to or anything like that?
Um, Not really. I don't have any sponsors. My team knows like I'm here and I love them and I love the support. I'm just excited. So I just appreciate everyone being behind me, win or lose. Like that it's a good feeling to have and I'm ready to go.
Awesome. Yeah, check out Jayde Sheeley fighting on LFA 160 and Owensboro, Kentucky. If you can't make it, it's on UFC Fight Pass. I think the prelims are on YouTube, if I remember correctly.
If
So
don't count on it because last time I had a lot of people crying because they couldn't watch the fight. So if you're not going to be there in person, you might not see the prelims. Just
just
saying.
get a ticket. That's right.
Yep.
Thank you so much. I'm excited. I'm excited to go and see. I mean, I've seen all the Ohio fighters fight, but seeing all this amount of talent on one card is
It's
crazy.
gonna be
So
crazy.
definitely one of the biggest Ohio cards, but it's in Kentucky. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, thank you so much, and yeah, we'll chat next time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks.